Hi there, folks. Really good to be here. Been here all day, and it's been a great conference so far. Thanks to the folks at MIT and Sloan and the other sponsors, Live Analytics and ESPN, everyone for putting this on. I've enjoyed my time so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the day. Today, I have the privilege of speaking to you folks about CRM, about data mining and analytics. And I know the big topics that I'm hearing a lot about even today are big data and obviously analytics and what can we do with that. And what I want to focus on today is really how we can take that insight, that wealth of information, and extract nuggets out of it and action on those items, particularly from a ticket sales context, to help us sell more tickets. That might be new prospects, that might be moving people up the value chain, that might be identifying targeted audiences to sell to. And so, let me use this remote here. And so today's focus really is going to be that scenario, using the sales team, the ticket sales team, as a sales force and automating that sales force with these inputs of data to increase our ticket sales. And while I'm going through this, I'm going to be trying to extract, again, the ROI, the real metrics that say, how do we leverage this data and turn it into something meaningful? And I hope what you'll take out of today is that it really is easy. It doesn't require data scientists and PhDs and long, drawn-out, complicated processes. It's something that you all can do with simple tools in Excel, as long as you have the right data residing in a system, such as a CRM system. And so the approach I'm going to take today is really to take a look at two steps, the two steps that every sales team goes through: identifying a target audience, who am I going to sell tickets to, what am I going to try to sell them, and executing that effectively with some kind of a feedback loop so that we can see how successful we were. Both of those are going to touch on CRM and various data sources in a couple of minutes here. So let's move on here. So the first step of this is identifying a target audience. And like I said, every sales team already does this, so I don't think this is going to be new or revolutionary to you, but I want to take a look at each of these steps and see how we can, again, maximize the revenue that we can get out of these steps here. So how are we going to find that target audience? That target audience might consist of a couple of different inputs. One is people who've purchased already. That's obviously going to be a gold mine for us of data. One of them might be people who have never purchased, but we can get their information somehow. New prospects. That might be lead lists. That might be purchased data. And that's going to be a wealth of information. And the third input into our target audience is going to be, how do we turn those into more than just names, but actual three-dimensional people who we know lots of stuff about and can be very targeted towards them. And that's what we at Core help our customers do. We have a software platform that organizes this data, and about 50-plus pro sports teams actually use it today, as well as about 150 collegiate properties and NCAA properties as well. And I'm going to be talking about, sorry, let me get my slides straight here. I'm going to be talking about those three steps, those past buyers, those new prospects, and the intelligence that we can wrap around those, and show you how our platform organizes that for you and helps you leverage that. The first thing I want to get out of the way is a bit about some semi-technical stuff, that is modeling our data. That is understanding how are we going to store this in a way that we can actually make it meaningful and maximize the value of it. And the one key concept that I want to communicate to you is that oftentimes past buyers are the first place we go to sell more tickets, and that data exists inside of a ticketing system like Ticketmaster's Arctics or other platforms. And what I want to describe here is that one ticket account, one ID number, one person inside of a ticketing system isn't always equivalent to one human being. You and I have probably all attended a sporting event at some time, and maybe we buy online or something like that, and we type in our information, and that's going to generate a new account or a new person, a new buyer in the ticketing system. That's great. That's really good information. But what would be even better is if we could aggregate that as the club, aggregate those together and say, hey, I see this person has a repetitive pattern. They have a behavior of buying. They go to the website, they buy. They go to the website, they buy. And rather than having 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different people, customers in our ticketing system, we could have one person who we understand more about. And this is going to be important as we measure some of the ROI of this because of a number of things. So first, so our ultimate goal here is really to understand who our buyers are, those past buyers, for example. And what I've tried to illustrate this here is to indicate that, you know, in the ticketing system or the accounts that we have in merchandise or our fan websites, we may have different records of people, of these fans or these buyers, but ultimately we know intellectually that these represent fewer than that in numbers of people. A person may actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 ticketing accounts and a merchandise account and a fan website account, but that's all enhancing our understanding of what a person looks like. So our goal here is to be able to say, hey, how many people, how many customers do we really have? And I've gone back into our 50-plus clients. I've taken a look at that matching rate, and I can tell you it's typically around 10%. What that means is that for every 10 ticketing accounts, you probably only have 9 people. What does that mean for an ROI? It means that if I'm going to be calling our past customers, I can call 10% fewer people if I actually roll those up together. It means I can probably get a 10% bump in my productivity. There's, of course, some other factors in that, but that's the basic premise. Now, not only that, not only do we roll those up into people, but we want to make sure we can roll those people up into companies or organizations or groupings or households. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the different types of data that we move into CRM to help enhance our information, our understanding about our buyers. And a lot of that information might be company-based information. I was speaking with some folks over at Full House who are a provider of business-related prospect data. And they were describing to me the benefits of selling to businesses. For example, higher renewal rates, easier to justify the spend, all that sort of thing. And I was speaking with some of our clubs who use our CRM software, and they were describing how they have shifted a lot of their focus from individual buyers to business buyers. In fact, in some markets, I think I might even mention this here. I'm kind of jumping around. I'm going to come back to that. I might have it in a future slide here, but in some markets, 30% of new business is actually corporate buyers. So if we're just marketing to people, that's great, but we're actually only hitting 70% of our target market. So if we can group these buyers into companies, we're going to get even more information and intelligence and actionable data. So our data model, the way Core's software organizes its data, really is based on this premise of let's roll things up into people, let's roll those people up into companies so that we can, again, reduce the amount of prospecting that we need to do, know more about them, and target a more comprehensive and accurate audience. A couple of screenshots just to give you a quick illustration. You'll notice this is a contact record, Mr. Johnny Smith here, who happens to have 1, 2 different Arctics IDs that we can still see transparently the contents of those. So we're not discarding, we're not merging and purging and throwing away important data. We're just rolling things up into one unified view so that we can understand a better picture of this customer. And here's where I jumped around a little bit accidentally, but that's our past buyers. Our past buyers primarily consist of our ticketing accounts and rolling those up and organizing those. Our new prospects would be from other sources. People who haven't bought before, obviously we're not going to get them from our transactional point of sale system, our ticketing system. So what we're going to be doing is taking a look at other sources. Business-wise, great research tool. We can find out lots of information on businesses that way. And the people at those companies, Hoover's, great resource again for finding information about people and the businesses they work at. All that information can flow into CRM. When I say can flow, what I mentioned at the beginning, my goal is to explain how simple this is to you. If you use Core's CRM software, these things are all built in. You can connect up automatically with BusinessWise and Hoover's and with Full House to download into CRM all this data that we can connect up into that organizational structure I showed you just a minute ago. And here's where I jumped ahead a bit as well. Not all prospects are truly new. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if we're buying lists, if we have other sources of customers that are coming into our system, we are getting those with very limited history about who they are and what they've done. We're probably getting demographic data or other statistical type of data about them, data points that are publicly available. But we don't know if we already have them inside of our CRM system. And it would be unfortunate to call a new lead, treating them like a new lead, without understanding that they were actually a long-time customer of ours. That would be rather embarrassing and probably reduce our chance of closing that deal, closing that sale. So again, the principle that I want to point out here is that if you use the right tools, this can again provide you some better ROI on the leads that you're capturing. Again, with the products that we have, there are a ticketing module that sits inside CRM platforms, Microsoft CRM and Salesforce CRM. The importing tools will automatically match that up with existing customers in the system, and our historical rate of matching is approximately 25%, meaning if you go buy 100,000 leads, chances are 25,000 of those at least are going to be people who you already know something about, and we can just enhance those records and again reduce that call list by about 25%. Not only prospects are people. I mentioned already the stat about some markets, 30% of new business buys are in fact businesses. It depends on the type of ticket as well. Obviously single game tickets are heavily skewed towards individual people. Full seasons, much more so towards businesses, as well as some of the premium products as well. And being able to target specifically businesses with the same sorts of sales campaigns that you would do against an existing individual person will give you access to a much broader market and give you the same sort of sales tools where we've focused heavily, and you focus and we focus heavily on the efficiency and optimization and intelligence around B2C sales. Well, we can apply those same techniques to the B2B sales through a system such as a CRM platform. So I mentioned 3 steps in identifying our target audience. One is looking at our past buyers, one is looking at our new prospects, and the third is applying different sources of intelligence against that database, that population of people. And this is where it gets really exciting. We have access in the sports sphere to lots of really exciting stuff. Live analytics, great resource for finding out things like what their live event purchases are, what their recency, frequency, monetary value of their purchases are, not only in our own team, but across other local arenas, events, concerts, etc. And purchase behavior, the usage of that. Ticketmaster and other ticketing platforms would be able to, are able to provide detailed usage information of those tickets so you can see what's going on with the tickets that you sold. That all ties back to a customer's behavior patterns. If we can know their behavior, we can more accurately target to them. Demographics. This is, again, something that, that Live Analytics or that Axiom or that other platforms can provide to us, to a CRM system. Again, those are all automatically connected up with with Core's CRM platform. We connect up with Live Analytics, we connect up with Axiom, connect up with Turnkey's Prospector and other packages as well. Psychographic data, Ticketmaster's Live Analytics product does a great job of finding people who look alike in the system, find patterns of what our buyers look like, and be able to put scoring models. And Prospector's another example of scoring models or retention models that would, again, flow into a CRM system. One of my favorite is the personas clusters, being able to see from Axiom's database of different lifestyles and sort of social, how do you even describe persona clusters? They have a hard time describing them, so they come up with really creative names for them. I'll show you a few of those here. Lastly, relationship history. Not only is there statistical information or publicly available information about people and businesses that we can download into a database of slice and dice, we also, as a sports team, you as a sports team, have a relationship with these customers. And that information, those touch points, the seat visits, the gifts you've given them, the fan events they've attended, all of those sorts of things their satisfaction from a customer service perspective, or the surveys that you give out at the end of every year. All of that is, again, a wealth of information. And so the goal here of a CRM system is to be a landing place for that so that we can slice and dice it. And again, for the sake of a screenshot, really quickly here, this is an example of one of our customer, one of our customer records. The Brandon Crossley record here with the Ticketmaster purchase behavior, with the turnkey prospector scoring system tied right into it, with fence sitter scoring tied right into it, and with all that relationship data. What are we working on with them? What does their customer service history look like? And lots more. Again, every data source that I have mentioned today is something that comes with a pre-built integration with our software product. So if you subscribe to 5 of these different services and have our CRM platform, it all flows into your customer records automatically. And the next step is, what do we do with it? So, talked about identifying the target audience using those 3 steps. Next is, what are we going to do with it? We have to action it somehow. And the title of this presentation did include the word data mining, so the presentation wouldn't be complete if I didn't touch on data mining. And I have to make a confession here. I am not a data mining guy. I am pretty simple-minded, actually. And so I thought to myself, what can I do to illustrate how easy it is to do data mining? Because I think all of you can do it too. And so what I did, actually this is, I wasn't going to tell this, but 2 nights ago I had to submit my slides here, and it was about 11 p.m. and I thought, you know what, I need something about data mining, so I actually whipped up an actual data mining experiment. And I was at one of the data visualization presentations earlier when the gentleman from Google, name escapes me now, was talking about the importance of when you're visualizing your data, not to come to it with predefined assumptions, but just to browse it and see what the data tells you. And that's what I did, because I didn't know what I was going to find, but I thought, let's try to find something interesting about our customers. So I logged into one of our systems, opened up Excel, installed a little add-in, which, if you're going to take notes here, write down the word Power Pivot. Power Pivot. Great little add-in to Excel. I connected it up with our CRM database, which happened to have live analytics connected up with it, Axiom data connected up with it, Arctics data from Ticketmaster all flowing down inside of it, all rolled up into deduped, cleaned up, standardized customers, just a standard installation of our ticketing module. And I said, what can I find out in 30 minutes? So I went in, here's the step-by-step screens. I imported I connected up with events and purchases, and 30 seconds later, it displayed some stuff on the screen. I dragged gender, male, female, income, different income slices, day of event, and whipped up a average transaction size by type, number of buyers by personas cluster, and orders by size. And just thought, and a number of tickets per event. I wonder what I can find really quickly. So I started checking off some of these filters here to see what I would find. And I unchecked all of my weekdays and lo and behold, special events popped up. I guess a lot of people buy special events on the weekends, not the weekdays. Seems pretty obvious. I wouldn't have come to the data looking to find that, but that's what popped out at me. Then I went to high spenders and looked at my personas clusters. And sure enough, it looks like my big spenders happen to fall in the cash and careers and the flush families groups. And their interesting purchase behavior is that they bought a lot of full season tickets. Again, it's not rocket science, but I didn't come with any expectation of finding anything, but I did. 30 minutes at about 11 p.m. 2 nights ago. So I thought I'd share that with you, because if the data is all in one place, it's not rocket science. It's really quite simple. Let's see here. Was there one more thing here? Oh, yes. And active elders. That happened to pop up as well, and I actually thought that was a mistake in my data, maybe, that there was something weird. Why are active elders coming to games? But then, just in the last meeting, last presentation over in, oh, shoot. Pardon me?
St. Louis?
No, sorry, just room over there, 1 hour ago. Who was it? Oh, it was the Orlando Magic, who were saying that Anthony Perez of the Orlando Magic at the Live Analytics presentation just 2 hours ago was saying that, surprisingly, one of their biggest demographics, their biggest buyer groups, is retirees who have lots of disposable income. And so maybe that actually wasn't an error. But anyways, there we have it. Some interesting findings that I wasn't expecting in 30 minutes of Excel, just because the data is all in the right place. So there we have data mining, there we have analytics. Now the question is, how do we do something with that inside of CRM? We found some really interesting stuff. We've used CRM to organize our data and to identify those interesting facts. But what does that mean from the sales floor? Well, it means we need to do two things. We need to enable or mobilize our sales force to actually go look for people like that. And the way our product does this is to distribute calls to a sales team, and I'll show you a screen about that in a second. And lastly, we want to see if we're actually being successful in doing this. So what are we going to do? We're going to distribute calls through the CRM. This is a complicated screenshot. I won't go through the details here, but I wanted to just illustrate that our objective is to make this so simple that you can just literally use a search wizard to find the target audience based on these other searches that we've done, plug in the results of those searches into this tool, hit find, it locates all the people who match that criteria inside of CRM, and you get to then send out calls, a new campaign, maybe send them out weighted round robin to your team of people, and distribute those calls by percentage or whatever the case may be, and fill in a bunch of information and hit create. The mechanics of this are very flexible, so I won't go into those details, but essentially our goal is to be able to provide the CRM manager or the sales manager with the tools they need to be able to make sure the right people get the right calls, whether that's full season ticket leads go to your more senior sales reps, whether that's the people who have worked with these customers in the past, get these upsell calls, those sorts of functions. But as long as we are tracking this through a CRM system, I want to again point out some ROI here, is that we're able to then monitor the real-time feedback loop of how this campaign is doing. We had a theory. Maybe that theory was based on the data, and we thought, let's look for people like this and see if we can sell them more stuff with this kind of an offer. Well, there's no need to wait for the entire list of 4,000 calls to be executed before you can understand whether that had any impact, and maybe wait a week till after the game to see if they actually ended up buying. No, instead, you can actually see in real time how many have we called, how many have we not called, what percentage are we through the list, and what revenue is being generated directly as a result of that campaign or that target audience. The actionable items here, you can jettison those that aren't doing so well. Move your sales force to the calls, to the campaigns, to the target audiences that you've already realized are getting traction. So, in conclusion, just wanted to summarize just a few of the key points from the ROI side of things. Cleaned up, deduped lists of customers. What does that do? It reduces your effort. It reduces your population of people you have to call by about 10%. Loading in new lists. If you dedupe those again against your existing database of people, probably looking at a increase in accuracy, in reduction of duplication by about 25%. If you can organize all that data in such a way that you get good information about companies and good information about people, all in that kind of a structure, you're going to open up a whole new audience of potential corporate buyers. Reduction of time. I happen to have done that analysis in about 30 minutes on Excel with no database or data mining training. So you're going to be able to action things very, very quickly. All that results in more time selling and less time analyzing, more time reacting or being proactive and actioning things, and less time trying to dig up details and try to construct something meaningful. So that's basically what I wanted to talk to you folks about today, and hope you will stick around for a few questions, and I'll be out in the back afterwards as well to answer any questions you might have. So, do we have a few minutes for questions?
Brandon, thank you. We do have a few questions.
Great.
We do have a few minutes for questions.
Great.
So I have a mic, and I'll bring it to you if you have any questions. I've got a question.
Great.
So one of the biggest things in here that you say you can't control is the data inputs. And obviously the feasibility of your model or the robustness of your model is based on the data inputs. How do you make sure that you have good data inputs, and where are you getting them from?
Great question. And I'll answer that in two parts. The first part is that A lot of the data inputs like Axiom, Turnkey, Live Analytics, Hoover's, BusinessWise, Full House, they are all standard formats of inputs. So at Core, we've developed our CRM modules in such a way that they will actually have pre-built integrations with all of those different data inputs. So it all overlays on top of your existing data. We built good relationships with the folks at Ticketmaster. The ticketing data all flows in automatically as well as other ticketing platforms, all the major ticketing platforms. That said, there is obviously the possibility of capturing other unknown types of data in the future. Perhaps I am on the call with someone and they say, oh, by the way, I happen to share my tickets with my friend, and his name is Joe. And those sorts of ad hoc types of things are obviously the one-off types of challenges where our goal is to create standardized inputs as much as possible and then create sort of the other category for something maybe that's a bit more ad hoc like that. But the good news is that 99% of the data that is known about people is actually pretty predictable in its structure and format, and there's providers who provide it in feeds that we can consume and that are built into the products that we offer.
Great.
Oh, I have a question. It's a two-parter. First of all, how did you get so awesome? Great job in doing the speech.
Thank you.
Yes. Secondly, how does secondary ticket market data lay on to something like this? I mean, now you got two people with the same ticket.
Right. Yes. Again, backing up to this might take a moment here. Backing up to one of the slides here where I talk about the model of how that data is organized, and sorry, I don't know how to jump forward too many at a time here, but our goal is to have one record in CRM, one customer record, one contact record per human being. Obviously, if someone forwards a ticket to someone else, we have two human beings in that transaction. Thankfully, Ticketmaster has been kind enough to work with Core to create a data feed that allows us to understand when a forward event occurs, or when a ticket transfer or a ticket exchange or something like that happens. And so that is data that is flowing into CRM automatically. What Core does is automatically generate a new customer, tying those two together with a relationship that they forwarded tickets to each other. And that way we understand who bought the ticket originally. We can include them in certain types of campaigns. We understand who eventually attended the event, and we have as much information as possible about them. We're big fans of paperless tickets and that sort of thing, so you can actually capture more meaningful data about that secondary market purchaser. But all of that builds up to a new customer record who becomes a new prospect inside of CRM. Yeah.
All right, that's all the time we have. Brandon, thank you very much.